Something tells me that tree is going to have to come down. Hopefully it just got stunted from the drought. Hey there folks, how you doing today? Hope all is going well for you. Good to be back. Please bear with the sound of traffic driving by in the background. Now for those of you that have been following along for a while now, you know that I have been threatening to do a video on the Smith & Wesson M&P 10mm pistol. So for those of you that are not familiar with the pistol in question, this 10mm pistol here, as I'll point out, is safe and empty. We do not have any ammunition out in this area. That will stay like that for the remainder of this production. This is the 4.6 inch model. It is optic ready with suppressor height sights, and this one is equipped with a VorTX Viper red dot. More on that later. So those of you familiar with the channel know that I purchased this pistol as a backup to a crossbow for my son's fall pig hunt in Palestine, Texas at Boars All Day. As such, I wanted to have the pistol tuned in with a 25-yard zero with a good defensive load, something that would be adequate for wild hogs. So I took the pistol to the range the other day to test it with a variety of ammunition at 25 yards utilizing the red dot. Here I will show you a close-up of each of the rounds that we took to the range that day. Here we have a look at the 180 grain MagTech full metal jackets. Moving on from there, we have our 200 grain DoubleTap controlled expansion jacketed hollow point. We have our 145 grain Underwood Extreme Penetrator external hollow point round. These, for those of you who haven't seen them before, kind of look like a Phillips screwdriver with the nose chopped off. Then we had our solid copper Barnes VorTX 155 grain bullet. And we have a Hornady XTP 155 grain jacketed hollow point handload that I worked up specifically for this pistol. The initial portion of the testing involved testing these from a rest at 25 yards utilizing the VorTX Viper red dot, and the results were as follows. She does make my shooting look good. Now looking here at this target, let me make sense of all these marks for you. Here in the middle you can see our first group, which was shot with my hand loads, was about a 4-inch group, and the point of aim on this target was the red dot in the middle. Now let me stop right there and explain something to you. If you've ever been driving down the road and you're looking straight ahead and focusing on the traffic, and you happen to look over at the digital clock on your dash and you notice the letters kind of dancing around a little bit, that's an optical illusion where your eye is trying to focus on something other than what it's focusing on. I'll use that to illustrate the issues I had focusing the red dot on this pistol on that 25-yard target with the red bullseye in broad daylight. It was very difficult to focus on the red dot covering the red bullseye because my eye consistently wanted to shift focus from the red dot to the bullseye, and I think that may have had some bearing on group size. Our 25-yard group average with the different rounds was about like that, and as you can see on the target, my hand loads, while not a great group, were pretty well centered, and I do believe that if we would have had a different background to shoot at, that the results might have been better. So next time I take the pistol to shoot it, I'm going to try a white paper plate with just a black dot on it and see if that doesn't work better with the red dot on this pistol. Now that being said, I'm not a huge fan of red dots. Typically speaking, a green dot is better for my old eyes. We moved on from there to the DoubleTap 200 grain controlled expansion hollow point. and you'll see that the group shifted slightly to the right on the target, although it did appear to be a fairly good group. So from there, again holding a center hold on this target, you'll see that our rounds this time shifted to the left. So while the group size remained fairly constant, there was a significant shift in point of impact between those three ammunitions. So the only one that held a center zero on the pistol was the Handload, and coincidentally that is what the pistol was zeroed for. So moving on up to the upper left-hand corner, you'll see another fairly good group. Minus one flyer, which was just me, and yes, that is annoying. This group was shot with the 155 grain solid copper Barnes VorTX rounds, which I thought were a nice combination of ease of shooting and just they felt good each and every time I pulled the trigger. The one round that flew high, I knew that was happening the instant I touched it off, but at that point it was a little late. Depending on where you were aiming on the target animal, that could very likely have still been a kill shot, although it wouldn't have been a pretty one, I'll give you that. So then moving on to the upper right target, again we see a pretty good, pretty well centered group. These were with MagTech 180 grain full metal jacket target rounds. So keep in mind, this portion of our testing was only for point of impact at 25 yards. I was really pleased to see that my Handload, the MagTech full metal jackets, and the Barnes VorTX bullet all hit to about the same point of aim. My original intent when I purchased the DoubleTap 200 grain controlled expansion rounds was to make that my dedicated hunting round for this pistol. The Underwood Extreme Penetrators, the only reason I tested those was because I worked out a deal with a guy to get my hands on some in exchange for some of my 200 grain controlled expansion DoubleTap rounds, and so I decided to include them into this test. I'm not a big fan of the external hollow point design, although I did want to see how they performed with this pistol. So as it sits right now, we've completed our accuracy testing. The accuracy with all of the rounds was acceptable for hunting purposes. I do think that with a little more work on my part and with a different target for the background for contrast with that red dot, the results would have been a little better. Next time I take it to the range, I will have something other than a red dot to focus my red dot on, and I think that will make a huge difference. I would like for y'all to weigh in on that. Let me know what your experiences are using red dots on red dot targets. I never really thought it through. I do know that the target you're aiming at can have a significant amount of impact on what you are seeing through your optics. Our next step, which we have yet to get to, will be to do some velocity testing with these rounds. And I also want to test these rounds in some kind of expansion medium. So while this is an incomplete process, this was the first portion of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I would like to hear what you have to think about this. If you get a chance, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe if you aren't subscribed to the channel, maybe share this video with someone else, and do your part to help us defeat the algorithm that prevents these kind of videos from reaching their maximum potential on this platform. So until next time, take care, God bless.